Right, so you'll see that I've already rubbed out the pencil lines on this, and I've gone over every line once already with the fine line, and just save a little bit of time. So if you haven't got a fine liner at home, by all means just use a black ballpoint pen. That should work absolutely fine for this. Now, what we're going to have a look at, just for a start, is I'll very quickly go through the spider rule. So when doing thick and thin, what we do is work on the basis of if a spider or a fly or something else that can stick to a surface was to land on the object and walk around, if it crossed over to a side where you could still see that spider, then the line it crossed would remain single thickness. However, if the spider moves around the side to where it would disappear, the line becomes double thickness. And what this does is it basically makes the object start to lift off the page. It creates shadow lines. Now you're going to do it a little bit neater than I am. I'm just doing this for the sake of speed, so you can actually see how that appears to raise off the surface. Now, it's useful to have a ruler for this, and what you'll find is if you look at the end of a ruler, if you look on the end of a ruler, you'll see that some of the edges on here are chamfered, and the reason for that is so if you turn the ruler over, if you are thick and thin in a line, you can actually just mark along it, and when you move the ruler away, it won't create a smear across your paper as it drags ink. So, if I look at this item here, if we think that the spider starts from the top surface here, crosses over this line, it would remain thin because we can still see it. However, if he walked underneath, that would become a double thickness line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my ruler up at the edge there. I'm just going to nudge it to the side, and I'm going to pop in an additional line. Now you may want to do this over twice, just so you get used to it. Again, you couldn't go under the bottom of it there without disappearing. So we start to build up, going around all the edges of the shape with a nice double thickness line for a start. Well, we may have to put a little bit more thought into it, so I'll do all the outer edges there, is around the snake and the pots. So, for instance, if the spider walked from this surface down onto there, it still seems that line would remain single thickness. However, if he walked around the edge of this surface, if he came around the side there, he would disappear. Therefore, that edge needs double thickness in. In fact, all that top surface there wants double thickness in until we would get to a point whereby if the spider walked round there, he would reappear on this side. So that would be double thickness all the way to that point. Same here, if he walked over the edge of that, he would disappear onto the inside edge. I would not be able to see him for the front edge of that. However, if he was walking up the back of it here and coming back out again, I would see him, so that line there is single thickness. So we have the same thing happening on these holes here, so the front of the curve becomes double thickness. Again, double thickness on the front of them. Same on this pot here, it would be exactly the same as that. With the snake, however, we may just need to have a little think about this. So there would be a bit of a line there, a bit of a cut off where it would disappear ever so slightly. Certainly would round the back there, and round this top edge here. This would want double thickness in. So what we're doing is we're just thinking, would that spider disappear around the edge, and if he does go out of view, we double thickness the line. So that's the basics of thick and thin. Again, what it'll do is it'll just help to make the shape start to pick out across there. Now, you could add a little bit more detail onto this one. I've left this one pretty basic for now. But you see, if I add a bit more detail on, if you are adding additional details, so if I'm thinking of doing some more pencil holes down the back of the snake, I can add them on now I've got the shape. But always add things on in pencil, because you can always rub them out if you make a mistake, and then go over them in pen. So what I'll start doing after this one is working on the original drawing I showed you, because it's slightly bigger. So if you're just looking at the basic drawing style, you can actually log out of this video now. However, if you were doing the slightly more advanced drawing, I'll take you through how to do the fish from a thick and thin point of view as well, if you hang on and stay on the video. So, if we're doing the fish, again, same principle. I'm not going to take you through all the thick and thin. However, just a couple of things to think about. With this fin here, it's running around the front. Obviously, if it disappeared under, that becomes double thickness. The same principle applies. You've just got to think to yourself, will the spider or the fly disappear? And again, it will work better for this shape because it's got more of an advanced shape to it, so it will actually make this shape stand out a bit more. Where you may have additional bits, so for instance this curve here, it would disappear under, so that's double thickness. That section there, I would make an argument that can be double thickness. Double thickness up the back, and again you can do this with a ruler. Stinning it up. I'm just drawing it in just quickly, so you can see on the video it's not taking a lot of time, so you can actually see the end impact of it down there. But the mouth, you would see at the top of the mouth, you wouldn't see the spider if it walked underneath that surface, and you wouldn't under that curve there around to the bottom. If you did want to add a fin onto this at the other side, you just have to work out where the fin goes roughly. So I've deliberately left this a little bit later. So if I work out where that fin would be roughly, then I can actually draw that on. Probably be about there. The bit I'd see, and again I can then just rub out the sections of pencil line I don't need. Leave myself with the bit of fin I do need. On there. And I may just cheat a little bit and add a little bit in there just so we can get a bit of thickness at the back. Thickness around there. So just building it up. Again, if you want to add additional details, maybe some pencil holes in the top, just add them at this stage onto the surface. You could think about other additional details like slots for ruler holders. We could pop a slot down here for a ruler holder to slide in, but we probably want to add that on before we actually thick and thinned it. But you can also add on some details as well if you want onto the fish. Just add them in nice and fine. So if you want to add a bit more detail on there, you can at this stage as well.